Welcome to another episode of the Anyone But Cam Fantasy Football Podcast. I am one of your hosts and one of your commissioners. My name is Frankie, and sitting across the internet from me is Cameron. Cameron, how are you doing on this lovely Wednesday evening?
So, I did just realize something. I was going to say I'm doing great. I haven't lost in two straight games. But then I realized I also didn't lose in all of the playoffs last year. So I'm at minimum, I haven't lost in five straight games. So that's pretty good. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Can't relate. Yeah, that's nice. Good for you. Whatever. Don't care. Moving on.
We need a
Um,
good heal. All right. I play my role.
yes. Our league is named appropriately.
Uh huh.
Um, welcome back, everybody. So we made a decision between last podcast and this podcast that we think it's probably a little bit more interesting if we go ahead and spend more time kind of talking about the next week of matches as opposed to kind of dwelling on the week that was, just because that week already happened. We all saw it happen, and not much to talk about. We'll still give initial reactions to each game. We had some really fun matchups last week, but we have some fun matchups this week as well. So I think we're going to just start with like a quick look back into week two, just spend like a minute or two on each game. We'll talk about the waivers, which are actually really exciting this week, as we all saw this morning. And then we'll do a preview of week three, the last week of division play in the first part of the season. And that'll be the show. How's it sound to you, Cam?
Let's do it.
All right. Perfect. So some really fun matchups that were kind of followed throughout the week, throughout the weekends, into the primetime games on Monday. The ones that stick out to me immediately would be, of course, my game. It was definitely a back and forth affair with how things turned on that Monday night game. Of course, Dylan and Daniel also affected by that. And we had Justin versus Greg, which came down to just a couple points. So we had just like really fun matchups like all across the league last week. And yeah, just like his first question to you, Cam, what's of all these matches that kind of came down to the wire last week, which one do you think was kind of, the one that was the most unpredictable, the one that you had the most fun following?
I was actually gonna start with the one I had the least amount of fun following.
That works too.
Uh, yeah, because I feel like the biggest storyline coming out of last week's matches is the downfall of Nick Chubb.
Right.
Moment of silence. Yeah, everyone loves Nick Chubb. Like, just a fantastic football player, better person. And I know I had him in some other leagues. I'm pretty sure you said you did as well.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we had Dylan versus Daniel. Dylan has Nick Chubb, in case anyone didn't know, as the matchup of the week, the one we highlighted last week. And it
Right.
delivered. We were going into Monday night. It was legitimately anyone's game. I guess maybe Sunday night, because then Raheem Mostert really went off. So Dylan was, you know, in a tougher spot going into Monday night, but still had a
Right.
chance. Uh, but then the Nick Chubb injury was just devastating, I'm sure, for Dylan. Daniel, don't bring me into your dunks on him as the same night that injury happened. Uh, yeah, I feel really bad, but it was a good matchup regardless. And I started all on just Thursday with Daniel having Devonta Smith on his team and benching DeAndre Swift, freaking out, and ended on Monday night. Just drama throughout the whole week. Great matchup.
Yeah, it was a great matchup, and if I'm Daniel, I'm really quite happy from last week's results. I mean, imagine if he put Swift in his flex instead of Quentin Johnson, like he would have popped off this week. So yeah, definitely a good matchup. He also loses Saquon for a couple of weeks, so both teams did not come out unscathed, and yeah, I think it definitely lived up to the billing that we gave it for matchup of the week. I know my matchup was I had a fun time watching it. Well, not a fun time watching it. It was I was just basically thinking to myself, like, I swear to God, if Pickens goes off and we don't win this goddamn game, I'm gonna be so mad. um, Steelers pulled out a victory, so I couldn't be too mad. So good game to lastly putting up 130 points in week two. Looks like the second highest scoring matchup. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough week for your boy, fifth highest score, losing the game. Sometimes that happens. Good week for you. With Bijan and Pollard going off. Gabe Davis, of course, your one true love. And then Devin falling a bit short with Pat Fryermuth, who has just seen zero action so far this season, and a couple other players disappointing. The Giants defense
Yeah.
barely eking out a victory over the Arizona Cardinals. And then yeah, let's see. The next one on my screen will be Jake versus Tyler. Jake had a good week. Tyler had another tough week. Josh Jacobs, who's had a really tough start to the season. Damian Pierce in kind of a similar boat. And then, of course, got basically nothing from his quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. So a recipe for disaster last week. Jake stacked, didn't even like do all that much last week, like comparatively, with the Dolphins going up. But Hawkinson came in. T. Higgins had a huge bounce back week. Um, and that kind of propelled his team forward.
Yeah, it's just really tough for Tyler. Already missing Cooper Cup the first 2 weeks, and then his other top picks really not panning out. Uh, Between Tyler and Devin, they have 1 week of their 4 weeks combined over 100 points, and that's Devin scoring 101
Yeah,
this last week. So, Alphas, we got to step it up a little bit. Me and Jake are carrying the boat out here.
yeah, that's it's let's see, yeah, it's not great. It's definitely haves and have-nots. 2-0 versus 0-2. So yeah, we got to pick those up alphas. Come on now. Tyler, I get what happened to his team, but Devin, where's your excuse? I mean, come on.
Well,
And
Devin was also missing Austin Eckler. So,
yeah, I know, but come on now, do better. um, and then the next last matchup in Rotlack was Greg versus Justin, which was a good one. Came down to the wire there as well. Good performances from Josh Allen, Christian McCaffrey, and Mark Andrews for Greg. What kind of did him in is the 0 for 6 bomb from Zay Jones. So not much you can do there, unfortunately. Good showings from his defense and kicker. So a bit of a good week, 111. Just barely beat up by Justin, who good weeks from most of his studs in CeeDee Lamb and Lamar. Fine game per digs, but ultimately underperformance. And then Josh Kelly. Wow, Josh Kelly had 13 carries for 39 yards. That's not great. um, and then yeah, just kind of average performances across the board, but just an all-around like solid enough week for Justin. Just barely enough to get the job done. But hey, what can you say? He's 1-1. And then last matchup here would have been Logan versus JP. Again, a good week from. I mean, JP pulled out a win with about 115 points, with Dalvin Cook scoring negative zero point 0.3 points. So whenever that happens, you have to feel good. Big week from Dallas defense. Mike Evans, of course. Derrick Henry doing well. Justin Herbert in that narrow loss to Tennessee. So just a good stuff all around. And then on the Logan side, Kyle Pitts got 2 receptions, so that's cool. And amassing a total of 15 yards. Gallup 1 for 3. And then A.J. Brown, of course, we all saw the meltdown. Only 29 yards, ETM with a disappointing week. So just kind of low performances kind of across the board, besides for Rashad White on the Logan side. So not great, but nothing you can't bounce back from.
yeah. Getting into Logan Corner really quick. We had, the first round pick of A.J. Brown stacked with Jalen Hurts really not panning out like Logan would hope. Jalen Hurts did have a good week, but mostly on the back of 2 rushing touchdowns. We saw A.J. Brown kind of freaking out on the sideline on Thursday Night Football.
Right,
So hopefully squeaky wheel helps out Logan's team, but
right.
dude, he needs it. And my dude is 2 players on his team fewer than he needs, or than he is allowed. He's got 4 people on his bench. We allow 6. Uh, Logan, this isn't starting a not filled lineup like the agreement was, but it's kind of close. Like, we're cutting it on the edge of I'm not looking at my roster at all because I didn't download the sleeper app for some God knows why reason.
Yeah.
Little does he know, I'm looking at Sleeper right now on my laptop because that's a thing, and I know you own one of those. Uh, so he's got Kyron Williams on his bench, going off for 25 points, and he's still starting Michael Gallup, who had 2 targets. He's still, you know, ETN, I guess. It makes more sense to start last week, but not anymore. So, dude, you better make some roster moves. Otherwise, dude, you can't come out of your group play 0-3. That's basically a death sentence.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get into that. Yeah. The Michael Gallup start is questionable at best. Yeah, because I drafted him, and to me, he had to pick him up and put him into a starting lineup. That was a choice, and then to keep. I mean, throw in Luke Musgrave for God's sakes. I mean, come on now, Oregon State legends. I mean, do something here. Come on.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
no Kyle Pitts. All right, we learned this last season until he proves
True.
otherwise.
Alrighty. Cool. So that was a week 2. So let's talk about the waiver wire. Actually, before we get to the waiver wire, we did have a trade earlier this week, did we not?
Yes, we did.
So I'm looking here. We have what Jake declared as his new CMC trade, which looks like a trade of $50 in Fab for Jake Moody, the kicker for San Francisco. So that was a choice. I Yeah, I don't have much analysis there, Cam. I don't know what to say.
It's not the most fab money traded for a kicker this season, so I don't think there's really much to say about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I just know
Uh,
Jake has been salty about drafting Jake Moody and dropping him before the season for Dylan. So this was his way of rectifying this.
yeah. Yeah. That's great. All right, we're just gonna move on. That's just something. So we have the waivers this week. Of course, the highest ticket item in every fantasy league across the board is going to be for Jerome Ford. After in the wake of the Nick Chubb injury, which Dylan does come away with for 169 fab dollars, a very nice amount. He did overbid Devin by $62, so that's like over a quarter of his yearly budget. Although he did just get a stimmy from
Yeah,
Jake,
and it's
so there's
basically
that.
$119 and Jake Moody.
Right. So there's that. Comes away with it. So congrats to Dylan. And then, as news broke this morning, we had Kareem Hunt getting signed back to Cleveland, who Jake snagged for $49 in Fab, outbidding Devin again for by about $22 there as well. So
I'm
yeah,
gonna be
just kind of
honest. I
good.
thought last he still had Kareem Hunt on his team. I didn't even look for him to put a bid on. So good awareness by them.
Yeah, I mean, when I woke up and I saw the news, I tried to put in a bid for Kareem Hunt, but you can't put in bids. At least for me, it didn't work this morning within like the 5 minutes before the time period is,
Mm.
because I was like 7:55. I tried to put in the bid, and it did not go through. So that's okay. It happens. Um, and then Jake takes another fab dump here. $34 for Tank Dell. Devin, once again, second place in bidding, but this time with a $0 bid. So just really a fab dump by Jake this week, who is currently sitting at $60 in total fab going into week 3. And
I
he didn't even
think
come away with
this
Jerome
can
Ford.
clearly this can clearly be traced back to Jake just being scared in his boots about our matchup this week. And don't worry, Jake. You can spend all of your fab budget. It's not going to help you.
All right, we'll have to pull that clip for next week and see what happens. A couple other acquisitions here, some defenses: Zach Ertz, Brandon Aubrey, Toby Jones, Elmat to JP. A couple other ads here, kickers, all that good stuff. So, yeah, that was the waivers. A really
Wait,
exciting.
Frankie,
Go ahead.
I have one pop quiz question for you.
Uh-oh, I'm gonna fail it.
Jerome Ford, clearly, stud of a waiver possible pickup. Everyone wanted him. 8 of our 12 teams put in a bid. Can you guess the 4 that did not?
Okay, I'm gonna go with Greg.
Yep,
Go with Justin.
easy.
Gonna go with Logan.
That's 3 for 3.
And the fourth. Um, I will go with Daniel.
No, Daniel put in a $0 bid. Good for
Oh,
him.
that's basically
The
what I
last is
did.
JP.
Oh, JP. Okay.
JP did, however, get Latavius Murray, so he wasn't completely, you know, not in waivers. Just had other priorities, I guess.
That's true. And Latavius Murray currently is living rent free in my mind every game as a James Cook owner. So congratulations. Alrighty. Cool. So that was the waivers. An exciting week. I don't know if we're gonna have that crazy of a week for the rest of the season. It's kind of usually pretty front loaded, but you never know. Injuries happen, as we saw.
Well, and the double Monday Night Football game does help, but we do have another one of those
True.
this week.
True. All right. Perfect. So Cam, let's talk about week number 3 here. As we kind of look into the matchups, you made note last week that it was, you know, we were going to have some teams that were going to end up 0-2 or 2-0, just kind of how like everything worked out. There was going to be not, we were going to have that. And going into this week, we only have one matchup left of 2 undefeated teams. And I think just by default, that's probably got to be the matchup of the week.
I may be, up talking the smack just to, ensure that this matchup has the heat required. I started it by posting the one meme of Jake being an old hag.
Right.
Uh, and so yeah, I'm just taking this boy down. All right. There will only be one undefeated team from the Alphas after this week, and it will be me.
All right, then. Well, take it away, Cam. What are you kind of looking for both your team and Jake this week? What are the high points? What are the low points? What are you excited about? What are you scared about?
All right. Well, if we start with Jake's team, the easy thing to start with is the Dolphins stack. And this week, they're playing Denver. And I don't know if you know this, Frankie, but Denver's defense has been very bad this season. They let the Raiders look competent against them, and Jacoby Myers score like 30 fantasy points.
Right.
They let the Washington Commanders come back and score like 30, points as a team to win. So that's definitely spooky. I do like that Raheem Mostert has been, chugging for that team. Does give some good hope that maybe we just keep the ball out of Jake's players and score with Daniels. And seeing the Denver's offense, that's definitely possible. Hopefully we keep this as a blowout, not a shootout. Then you got TJ Hawkinson, who went off last week playing the Chargers, who also have a bad defense and have given up the most points, I think, this season. Or I don't remember what the stat was, but like since Justin Herbert was drafted or whatever, they've scored the most points and given up the most points.
Right.
Something like that. Still bad, scary. And then Drake London, who scored a touchdown last week and plays the Lions this week, so that could just be, 2 daggers in my heart. And then, of course, I have Bijan, so if things swing that way, it definitely hurts me, helps him. Dude, and he's going kicker flex this week?
Yeah, I was like, there's no way
Wild
you got to throw in T, right? I mean, come on now.
Is he just doing mind games with me? T. Higgins has 20 targets throughout 2 games total.
Yeah, unless Burrow doesn't play or something. Like I know that he's
that
like,
is
injured,
actually a
but,
concern. Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's why you throw him in the flex, I guess, for the Monday night. Does he have anyone else playing Monday night? I guess maybe not. Yeah, I guess that's kind of a tougher call.
Yeah, I mean, you could drop Anders Carlson for see if any of the Monday night games have kicker available just to have that kind of flexibility if you're Jake, but I'm not going to give him ideas. He's not going to listen to this. We're fine. Uh, then going on to my side, dude, I was looking today just to see if I could replace Justin Fields, and it's like, do I want to start uh Desmond Ritter instead of him? Like, come on. I just gotta hope that the Bears have any amount of self awareness and just do complete opposite of what they've been doing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's scary. But then the one big difference between my team and Jake's team is in the running back slots. Jake's starting Zach Moss and Gus Edwards, and
Right.
I'm starting Bijan Robinson and Tony Pollard. So that's really where I need to take my kind of advantage from him with his wide receivers, which, that's to be expected with his zero running back strategy, my two running backs in the first 2 round strategy. But I got the RB4 and RB6 on the season versus, I guess Zach Moss did all right last week. I don't even remember.
Yeah,
But yeah.
he had like super high snap percentage, lots of points. Yeah.
Uh, so that's really where I got to come out. We got Calvin Ridley, who disappointed last week, but the whole Jacksonville offense pretty much did, and he still got a lot of targets. Mike Williams finally went off, which is cool. Dallas Goedert got a lot of targets, but still only like 25 yards. We call that the Hawkinson. Got him.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, yeah, we'll see what I choose to do with my flex. Really not sure. Probably depends on if Christian Watson gets cleared to play. There's always a chance of just starting Tyler Algier and betting against the Lions defense. Never a bad bet. IMO. Puka's locked in now, baby. I was too afraid to start him week 2, and he came through with 22 points. So
Yeah.
this boy is locked into my roster until he says otherwise. I love him. But yeah, I and I am pulling off the strategy once again of playing the defense, playing against my quarterback, because there were multiple times watching Red Zone where it's Justin Fields threw a pick, and I was like, you know what? That doesn't affect me at all. We're cool with that. Besides the
Yeah.
time when the Bears were in like a 2-minute drill to try and take the lead, and he threw a pick 6, and I was like, sweet, that's more points than I was expecting out of this drive.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, perfect. So it seems like I don't know. Just looking at the matchups, to me, like it seems that the tail of the tape is definitely the advantage that you have with the running backs, and then the fact that both Hill and Waddle are missing practices. Like I don't know. It's not great. It's not a great look. I mean, you know, if one of them doesn't play this week for whatever reason, um, I don't. I mean, of course, we said T. Higgins, but there's the whole situation there. I mean, AJ Dillon. I guess you might be able to slide into your flex, but I don't know. He
Dude,
should have
AJ
had a
Dillon is
way bigger game
bad.
in Aaron Jones' absence, and so I don't know. I guess he spent a ton of money on Tank Dell, so there's your guy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really seeing the path to victory here for Jake personally, so
I
I
mean,
am
the
gonna
path
pick
is
you.
just, it's always Tyreek Hill Tua.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like they're missing. They're not even practicing. So like I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I mean, I guess I'm more worried about Waddle because of the whole concussion thing, than I am about Tyreek. And okay, at least having one of them is better than none. But I don't know if a team can only if they're only playing one, and even how as bad as the Denver defense is, if they can focus more attention on that one player instead of having to split it on both, like I don't know, it's not great. So if they both are playing and it's great, then yeah, absolutely. As the current state of Wednesday evening, I'm gonna say probably pull more towards your side here.
Let's go. Guaranteed win, baby.
Alrighty. So let's round out the alphas here with a matchup of 0 and 2s with Devin and Tyler. And
Cornered
so
animal game.
Yeah, corner. Okay. So speaking of running backs, I want to talk about Devon's. So Joe Mixon, who hasn't really done too much this season so far, he had a decent game last week, but he's currently the RB 22 on the season, and it's just not what you're looking for to start for him. And then his next running back he is starting is David Montgomery, who did, is dealing with his own injury issues and didn't practice today. So I don't know. We'll see if he gets the call against Atlanta this week. And
I
then
would
if
call
not,
that unlikely.
yes. Okay, and then after that we have Jamal Williams missing practice today, Austin Eckler missing practice today.
Oh
So
my
it's
god.
just you just kind of keep going down. Okay, and up next you have Antonio Gibson, who is getting out, who's getting like outperformed in every metric by Brian Robinson. Like he's getting like literally everything. Brian Robinson's doing better. So that's not good. And then up next you have Tony Jones, who scored 2 touchdowns last week. Touchdowns are 6 points each, and that's great. And he ended the game with 15.4 points. So, uh, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough for Devin to fill in that RB2 spot on his team this week, which is never a good sign. Um, on a slightly better note, he does have Devontae Adams, who, of course, any week is subject to being the wide receiver one on the week. And then DJ Moore, who definitely had a bit of a bounce back game last week with 104 yards off 6 receptions. So good stuff there. Fryermuth, as I kind of mentioned earlier, has just not seen any action so far. As the Steelers' offense has continued to be the worst offense in the league so far. uh, Michael
It's
Thomas has
crazy.
so far seemed to be a shell of himself. And then Kendrick Bourne had a good week 1 with 2 touchdowns and then did nothing last week. So I don't know. I'm just not seeing a lot that I like on the Devon side so far.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell why this team is 0-2. Especially with all the running back injuries. It's crazy. That's why Jake didn't draft any until like round 10.
Yeah,
Uh, and then the best player on Devon's team, Daniel Jones, he scored 30 points last week, is playing San Francisco on
right.
Thursday night on an away game. Like, it's prime time Daniel Jones against a good defense. Has not treated him well so far this season. It's probably not going to treat him well again.
I have to imagine not flying across coast on the short week. Yeah, San Francisco's just looked like the best team in the league so far. So
Mm-hmm.
good luck on the Tyler side. So we mentioned kind of the stuff earlier with the down weeks for Josh Jacobs and Damian Pierce. With another game, so we have more matchup against Jacksonville, which is like all right, I guess not kind of ideal. Josh Jacobs against Pittsburgh, which could be a good matchup. Pittsburgh's run defense was been like below average so far. Um, McLaurin has struggled to find like a really solid connection so far with Sam Howell, but did score that great touchdown last week. And then Debo as well had a slight bounce back week last week with 19 points. So I mean, you're just gonna start these guys no matter what. And then I think like if I'm Tyler, I'm like really disappointed in JSN's production so far. He's just not seeing the kind of participation, unfortunately, that you'd like to see. And we know he's a rookie receiver, so a lot of times you kind of draft these guys for the second half of the season. But he did seem like someone who could really hit the ground running and make an immediate impact, and he hasn't so far, which is a little bit unfortunate. But as I'm saying earlier about Brian Robinson, speaking of him, Brian Robinson is on Tyler's team, and he did score nearly 28 points last week, 13 points in week 1. He's currently the RB3. So I know it's maybe not your most favorite start against Buffalo, but I don't know. How do you not start the RB3 so far?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
There are a couple start sit things that I think Tyler has to look at. Brian Robinson being the main one. Maybe honestly CJ Stroud over Trevor Lawrence. Like I know that's hard to swallow, but CJ Stroud Scored 21 points last week, whereas Trevor Lawrence, did he break double digits? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Uh, like that's at least something to think about. And then I I would bench Jackson Smith and Jigba for anyone I could at this point. Like I get that he could be good, but he's not right now. And then Sam Laporta, like why are you playing my dog in tight end spot? It's basically the exact same as Dalton Schultz, except you know his team is actually projected to score points, so maybe that goes to Sam Laporta because we'll see with Dalton Schultz. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely stuff to like for both sides, but a lot more stuff to be a little questionable about. But I do think it comes down to Sunday Night Football, Josh Jacobs versus Devontae Adams. That'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. I wish Tyler would have bid on Tank Dell, and so he could have just like gone
Oh my God.
full C.J. Stroud, Damian Pierce, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, just like the most all in on like a bottom three team in the league.
The
Like that would.
Houston Texans offense, baby.
Yeah. Alrighty. Next up on my list here, I have Devin versus Greg. So sorry, not Devin. Daniel versus Greg. My apologies. Starting on the Daniel side, Swift, of course, had like a huge week last week in 75% snap percentage, 28 attempts, quarter yard per carry, plus a touchdown. Welcome back, DeAndre Swift. He gets to play Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football. Which isn't maybe the most amazing matchup, but I mean you can't not start him after last week. Um, Pairs that with Devonta Smith, which should be a good matchup for him as well. Mahomes against Chicago should be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
um, and then Mosa versus Denver also had some opportunity to really take over. So yeah, I mean, just like quite a bit of good stuff over here on the Daniel side. Finally, benching Quentin Johnston, which we've been asking for weeks now. Still kicker flexing and throwing in Adam Thielen. Welcome back to the conversation with a great week last week. So yeah, I think just some like pretty good stuff from the Daniel side. Um, you know, it's a very interesting team composition where it's like there's not a lot of huge names in this team, right? Like of course Mahomes and Devonta Smith, and then Cooper as well in his later years. But I don't know. But I feel like this put together like quite a decent roster. So I think he's got a good chance to put up another really strong week so far.
Yeah, I think Daniel has won the award, at least early season, for best running back value in the draft. DeAndre
Mm,
Swift and Raheem Mostert both, you know, round six or later and looking very solid. We'll see how long they can hold up for it because that's basically what they're known for is looking good when they're actually on the field. But ride that train while you can, Daniel. No one's stopping it. Uh, and then on the Greg side, he's got both Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey on Thursday night. I feel like that's basically going to set the tone for the week.
right.
Ayuk might not play. Not exactly sure where he's at right now. Yeah, listed questionable. Uh, doesn't tell me if he practiced anytime recently. Uh, but my dog Greg is still starting Chuba Hubbard. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean,
You
it's an
didn't put
interesting
in a
decision,
bid
right?
for a running back.
Yeah, you definitely should have done that. I mean, I don't know. You can't start Akers for this week, right?
Not
But
this
you
week,
just
no.
yeah, you just sit and hope that the next week or the week after that he takes over that starting role. But yeah, for this week, it's not great his options.
Yeah, I mean he's starting Christian McCaffrey basically in running back one and running back two slot.
Right.
Yeah. Besides that, I mean Greg's got Baltimore stack of Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews playing Indy this week. If I'm Greg, I'm really hoping Anthony Richardson can play because then I think at least it should be a bit more higher scoring. Baltimore can't just run the ball out second half. Uh, what is a more Greg move than tight end flex, dude?
Dude, he's tight end flexing and kicker flexing. It's a matchup of kicker flexing, and he's starting two tight ends. It's awesome.
You got Zay Jones, dude. Zay Jones has been fire. Oh, never mind. He scored 0 points last week. Whoops. 6 targets. And also
Yeah,
not
the
practicing.
Jacksonville fell off
Uh,
week two.
yeah, I guess I don't have much better ideas for you, Greg, besides putting in waiver claims. Did you have a third tight end on your bench? You have more startable tight ends than you have running backs, Greg.
That's awesome. All right, I think we've hit it all for on this matchup.
Yeah.
Um, Up next to round out Rotlack, Dylan versus Justin. Dylan in a cornered animal game here with Kirk Cousins, Jordan Addison, and Alexander Madison. His Vikings stack pairing along, of course, with Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson. So we have the Vikings versus the Chargers, who have been not good on defense, and then Brees, and then the Jets against the Patriots. Oh my God, Patriots, who have been good. So that's fun. uh, of course, we'll have to see with Brace Hall with this knee injury again. Basically did nothing in week two after a promising week one. So something to monitor. Of course, Madison. Who knows? This could be his last week of startability. Not that he's really been startable last week either. So not good. Garrett Wilson with Zach Wilson as his quarterback. I mean, hey, 8 targets last week, which is great. Only 2 receptions, but 83 yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, yeah.
Sustainable. That's what I call that.
Yes. Um, and then, things are weird in Detroit with Jahmyr Gibbs. The vibes are unique to say the least. So I don't know. There's just a lot of question marks over here on the Dylan side. Another one being the Anthony Richardson injury. I mean, Dylan, you spent a lot of money on Jerome Ford, and you're not gonna just slide him in there. I don't know. I think I might think about it.
I mean, Jerome Ford is playing Tennessee, who is very good in the defensive line and not
It's true.
in the back part of the defense. But then he's playing, the Browns, who have very good rushing attack and then not a good passing attack. So it's stoppable force, movable object kind of thing.
Right.
That's a lot of money, yeah, to spend on a bench player when you're instead going to start 3 Vikings that aren't named Justin Jefferson or TJ Hawkinson.
It's not great.
And then 2 Jets. God. Dylan's team just kind of makes me sad by no fault of his own. I understand why 2 of his players have nicknames that have the phrase "kill myself," even though I can't tell if there's a cry for help, Dylan. I'm here if you need me.
Yeah.
But Dylan's team kind of reminds me of the Vikings. What they're not bad at scoring points, but they are bad at winning this season.
It's true. He needs to play better defense for sure.
Mm-hmm.
On the Justin side, so he is finally benching. Finally, it's only week 3, but he has officially benched Najee Harris, who is currently the RB 47
Ugh.
on the season. This is a season so far where running backs have just not really done much. So to be the RB 47 is a feat. Thank you, first round pick.
Hey, you and me both.
Yeah. In the wake of that, Josh Kelly, who put up less than 4 points last week against Tennessee, good defense, going up against Minnesota, so slightly more promising there. James Conner going up a good Dallas defense, so not great. Lamar is always locked and loaded. CeeDee Lamb should be great against Arizona. Stephon Diggs should have a decent week against Washington. Godwin versus Philly, Evan Ingram. Pittman's a tough play. Well, you can't play. Can you play? You can probably. Can you play Pittman if it's Gardner? You probably can, right? Yeah, I
Yeah,
think you can.
dude, he's
Yeah,
gotten 11 and 12 targets, 8 catches both
yeah,
games. You start Michael Pittman until, especially on Justin's team, where his next best wide receiver would be Jonathan Mingo, Tyler Boyd. Yeah, we start Pittman.
yeah. So I mean, it's good stuff. It's decent stuff here. I mean, the running back situation isn't great. The receiver situation is quite a bit better. Of course, Lamar Jackson as always, and then Baltimore defense, which should be good. Justin Tucker as always. So yeah, I like quite a bit of the stuff from Justin's side here. In a matchup where it is absolutely a must-win for Dylan. I'm not loving it for you, Dylan.
Dude, why does Dylan have Chris Boswell as his kicker? I guess he scored 12 points last week, but seriously, dude, you trust
Yeah,
that offense?
I mean, yeah, Boswell's a great kicker, but it's not very often we find ourselves in our opponent's side of the field. So
Yeah,
it's
unless your defense did something to put you there.
exactly. Hey, if the Steelers defense scores 2 touchdowns a week, we might get to 500 this season. It'll be great. All right, next up in the Studs and Stoners, we have Logan versus Lassie here. Logan 0-2, another cornered animal must-win type of game here. We kind of talked about his team a little bit. We talked about his team quite a bit already, but just matchup-wise, Monday Night Football, Jalen Hurts against Tampa Bay, amazing. Etienne, decent matchup. Walker with a great matchup. Um, Juju, who's been just fine. I don't know. 5.3 points exactly in both games. It's actually pretty impressive to do the exact same in both games. Rashad White, who has been excellent so far, so that's good to lock and load again against Philadelphia. So not great. He's got still starting Michael Gallup, which is a choice. He better put in Kyron Williams, please, for the love
If
of
he does
God.
not, then I we can't not talk about him yet just for that. But I'm really close, dude. Put in Kyron
Yeah, I mean you got to put in.
and
Well,
Luke, honestly, Musgrave.
yeah, I guess it's tough. Do you start Kyron over Rashad White, Travis Etienne, and Ken Walker?
Oh wait,
Right?
yeah,
So you
you
can only
can't
start
flex the
three
running back.
against
Dude, Jake,
Cincinnati.
send him a trade offer.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's actually a tough call. Either way, you gotta throw in Luke Musgrave for the love of God. Do something, please, God.
Dude, if you're Jake Logan, do you offer T. Higgins for Kyron Williams?
um, in the wake of the Akers trade, probably. Yeah, I think so. Just the premium of it is it's too yeah. I think and Jake, he's so heavy on wide receivers. I think it's
Exactly.
definitely for his team comp you have to, or not you don't
I
have to, but I
think
think
that
it'd
would
probably be a
be
good
a
decision.
good trade for both teams.
Yeah,
Maybe a little too
mutually
rich, but
beneficial.
I don't know. Not trying to
Anyways,
help my opponent for this week, though.
yeah, we'll leave that to them to figure out. On the Lassie side, Goff versus Atlanta should be decent. We have Javonte Williams against Miami. Javonte, who hasn't done a ton so far, currently the RB 38, so not a amazing start. Miles Sanders, again, not much either, going there. 31st ranked running back. Of course, Justin Jefferson, Olave, locked and loaded in his receivers spots. And then for tight end, did George Kittle do anything last week? 4.5 points. Currently the tight end 30. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
tough.
it's tight end. What else are you going to do?
Yeah, I get it, but you still paid a premium for him in the draft, compared to these other tight ends, right? So
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
I
know.
wouldn't have done that, but at this point, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, Nico Collins, who's been great so far to this season, been a security blanket for CJ, and then George Pickens, who had the best game of his career last week. So we'll see that's repeatable against the Raiders. So yeah, I don't know. I actually think this matchup is probably pretty close, all things considered. I'm not sure that I really see either one um, pulling away too much, just because where one team's a bit stronger, the other team's weaker. We have running backs kind of more in favor of the Logan side, and then the receivers are, you know, quite a bit stronger on the Lassie side.
Yeah, I'm definitely more Lassie than Logan. If I'm looking at Lassie's team too, maybe I try offer Christian Kirk and Tutu Atwell for Kyron Williams. Anyways,
Yeah,
uh, yeah, I mean,
you're shopping over there.
I have two good running backs, so I don't think it's worth it for me. But like, Logan's team is just such a prime team to scavenge talent from at this point. If
Yeah.
only he would see a notification that came to him saying a trade request happened, which he won't.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, dude, Justin Jefferson playing the Chargers, who are the team that gave up 30 whatever fantasy points to Tyreek Hill.
Right.
Like, I, I Logan needs AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts to come through in order to have a chance here. Like, no one else on his team has 20 plus point potential. Like, sure, you got some decent floors. You also have some non-existent floors with Michael Gallup and Juju,
Right.
and kind of ETN. Yeah, like you have no ceiling outside of those two Eagles players, and I guess Kyle Pitts actually getting an on-target pass deep down the field.
True. Um, Alrighty, so let's wrap up here. Let's talk about the last matchup. We have mine versus JP. Kind of the story of my team for this week is please, Aaron Jones, play football. Please, please, God, please, please come back. He didn't even play last week, and he's still the RB14 on the season. So please, God, come back. Um, and then, hey, Joe Burrow, if you could relearn how to play football, that would be sick too. He says he's feeling better with the calf injury, so hopefully
Dude,
that extra rest day for Monday Night Football will help. But
JP has Jamar Chase. You sure you want him to learn this week? I feel like he could take one more week. If you just tank your
uh,
quarterback and his Jamar Chase, I feel like that kind of balances out.
yeah, that's a fair point. It's a fair point. Um, Otherwise, James Cook has been excellent so far to start this season. The RB12 going against Washington should be decent. Ramondre against the Jets, which I'm not in love with, but could do worse. Um, Amon Ra, who please God don't have turf toe, please God.
I I think he has turf toe. I just think you gotta hope for him to be able to play through it and be
Yeah,
okay.
but it just means I have to lower his ceiling for the rest of the season. And it's just like fuck, it's so annoying.
Yeah.
I just don't want to start Elijah Moore, please God. Which is why I have Roshan Johnson. Welcome to the squad. Please, anyone. Or Robert Woods, for God's sakes. Hey, hey Tyler, let's make a trade, man. You want Rob Woods too? We can do this. He's got value. Um, so yes, I'm just kind of looking for my injured players to play this week. I'm looking for Travis Kelsey to go off against Chicago and to carry my team to victory. That's largely what I'm looking for. And then on the JP side, he is starting Dalvin Cook so far. As I mentioned, negative zero point 0.3 points last week, going against a stout New England defense. We have Derrick Henry, who is limited in practice with a toe injury, against going a fairly stout Cleveland run defense. Jamar with the situation with Burrow. Herbert with a good matchup in Minnesota, I forgot to mention. Nuke Hopkins against Cleveland, who hasn't done it too much this season. Currently the wide receiver 48. Njoku did just about nothing so far this season as well. Tight end 27.
All right.
Um,
Wait, I want to stop you here before you get too far down.
okay.
Mike Evans. What wide receiver rank do you think he is this season?
If I had to guess, he's got to be at top five. He had a really big week last week.
He's two. Yeah, that's
Number two.
crazy.
Oh yeah,
Wide receiver two, probably behind only Tyreek or Justin
yeah.
Jefferson. I have no idea.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that's going to be a huge part, going against Philly in prime time. So we'll have to see if that Baker magic can continue there. That's kind of where he's really hoping for the ceiling there. Because I'm just not seeing a whole ton of ceiling otherwise with the Burrow injury and Metcalf dealing with the ribs. So I don't know. I think both of our teams are headed for just probably fairly average scoring weeks if I had to guess. And I'm gonna, hope that I win this week because God, Aaron Jones come back, please, God.
Frankie, I am sorry to report your week is over, dude. You are done for. Do you want to know why?
No, but sure.
If you scroll down to the bottom of JP's roster, he has one of the highest scoring entities of fantasy this season, the Dallas Cowboys defense, playing against none other than the Arizona Cardinals this week. That's like 40 points
Oh
minimum.
no. I may have overlooked that. All
Dude,
right.
they are the number one overall fantasy entity of this season.
That is so absurd.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So,
Well,
yeah. Dude, I think that's gonna be insane this week. Oh my god.
yeah. Well, it sounds like we know who's going to be leading the Studs and Stoners after this week, but that's okay. I can settle for second place if we outscore last week, please God. All
You
right.
sacrificed your soul to beat Logan week 1 at the cost of losing to all other Studs and Stoners.
I don't want to talk about it. Alrighty. All right. Well, that about wraps up the show. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Anyone But Cam Fantasy Football Podcast. I have been Frankie.
And I am coming for you, Jake Logan. Run, hide Angela, do whatever you need to shutter your doors, but it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I will still
Hey,
be there.
don't bring Angela into this. What the heck?
I don't know, man.
We'll catch you
Quiet
all on the
place.
next one.
See ya.